Hello and welcome to a CBK gaming review video. Today we are looking at Mansions of Madness by Fantasy Flight Games. This is a 1 to 5 player cooperative narrative driven game. It's important to point out right from the outset that to play this game you will need either a laptop, a tablet or a large phone, as it's an app driven game which allows for background music, has voiceover story elements, allows for randomness within the story themselves, so increasing the replayability factor. We are taking a look at all of the expansions with the exception of the latest one, which is still en route to us. So we thought, as it's Halloween and the spookier part of the year, and we like playing this game over this time, and we run Cthulhumas, which is we play Arkham Horror, Mansions of Madness, Eldritch Horror, and a number of other Cthulhu-inspired games, that this was a nice opportunity to review this game. So, looking at content, it's a Fantasy Flight game. You get a lot. You get a lot, not just with the core set, but with all of the expansions as well. The miniatures, so this game has miniatures where Arkham Horror and Eldritch Horror have standees. We do have to point out that we add a few other extras to this game. So we have purchased acrylic tokens from Etsy. We'll include a link to that on the description below. We've also used the doors from Zombicide, Black Plague and Conan just to make the board a little bit more three-dimensional. We buy some holders to put the tokens in to make it easier and quicker to find those tokens, because one of the things that you will find with this game, there is so much that setup as the board progresses can be a little bit more difficult, especially with the vast quantity that you have available to you.
Yeah, because it's app driven and story driven, you don't get a random person appear, you get a particular person, so it's finding that token. So when they're all in the sleeves, as you said, it's quick and easy to find that particular token.
Yes. Yeah. So, I think for content, I have to give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
The only thing I did find that we had to purchase another set of dice when there were 5 of us playing, just to make it easier across the table. It's not a necessity, it just helped. Yeah. So, let's move on to quality. And it's a Fantasy Flight game. Yeah. It is fantastic quality, with 2 major exceptions. The miniatures, they're not that great. They're not very well moulded. You'll see an example on the screen now. They're not as good as Simon or Grimlord games, but they're functional. They do what they need. It's not overly a miniature game. This could be done with standees very easily. Yeah. It does look good to have them on the table. I've not felt inspired to paint them, but I have seen some beautifully painted models on Instagram, and there's some fantastic artists out there that have taken these miniatures and made something really special of them.
Take our hats off to them there.
The monsters, the larger monsters, look amazing. Yeah. And they, again, I still haven't been inspired. Folklore, I opened Folklore, immediately I wanted to paint the miniatures. Village Attacks, I really want to paint the miniatures. I don't feel that way with Mansions of Madness. I don't think the game loses anything for not having them painted. No. The smaller miniatures, however, for the monsters are a pain. Yeah. And it's all to do with the stands. The stands are plastic that you put these miniatures in. You push the 2 together and they don't work, they bend, they fall over all the time, and sometimes for some of them you have to use a stand, the witches and some of the peasants.
Yeah.
But majority of the time, they don't need the stand.
We don't bother. Yeah.
So we don't bother. So, and for that reason, for quality, I've got to give this a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree. It's a shame because otherwise, I mean, the boards, the tiles that you're playing with, I've lost count of how many times we've played this game because it is one of my absolute favourites. And the boards aren't showing sign of wear. So to me, it shows really good quality on the tiles that you're using. But the figures really do let it down. I mean, the first time we played this, trying to rummage through all the bases to find the right base for the right creature, gameplay stopped for a couple of minutes and you're losing that momentum and the story just to put a figure on the board.
But there's so much, there are so many monsters that you can't have them all set up ready to go.
You'd lose an entire cabinet of shelving to stick them all onto the bases and then have to store them. It's
Okay, so what do you give it out of 10?
I'm gonna go with you on the 6.
Okay.
It's it would be higher because of the boards and the cards.
The print quality, the card quality is fantastic. I mean, none of them are becoming dog-eared. We have sleeved them, but only just recently.
In the last month, we've sleeved them.
So really, really good quality on that aspect. So, complexity. This is a really easy game to learn. The app tells you what you need to know. The rules are a typical Fantasy Flight set of rules. They're very well done, beautifully written. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm going to go for an 8. It is really easy, but there's just a couple of little things that don't come up often, and so when they do come up, you've got to refer to the rules to remember what's it, such as the fire. You can get fire start somewhere to put it out because it's not in every game, in every story. When fire does occur, we always tend to sort of go, hang on a minute, how do we put fire out again? What do we have to do? And just because there's just a couple, not many, but just a couple of mechanics in there that don't happen very often, and they're the ones you have to refer back to the rule book. But
and again, the rule book's got a good FAQ, which allows you to actually find that straight away. Yeah.
But the app guides you through really nicely, really easily. Yeah.
Replayability.
You can play this again and again and again. We've done the same story when we were learning the game. We did the same story 4 times. And there's a certain cabinet that you can go to and open. And every time, because it was app driven, it was a different thing inside the cabinet. You never knew what you were going to find.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Replayability because of the app. And there are puzzles to solve. Well, the app randomises the answer to the puzzles. It's like finding a combination. Because in a sort of another board game, there would be a set combination for that puzzle. So after a few times, you're going to know it. So then you tend to sit back and let someone else have that go. In this, you have no idea because the app changes it. It's brilliant.
The replayability is enhanced by the application, but there is an element that I don't like technology brought into my board games. I keep the two quite separate. In our games room, we try to limit the amount of technology, and I can understand where some people don't like having the application and having to use a laptop or a tablet. But on the flip side of that, it keeps the game fresh. It allows for new stories to be added. So there's some downloadable content. I think there's only a couple that they added that are really good stories. And they're fully voiced over. Again, they're the same quality as buying the core set and what's in the application for that. I think that there is a difference in the expansions, and some of the expansions are better than the others. I have a personal favourite in Streets of Arkham and Horrific Journeys. I find those the larger box sets, and there's 2 stories which are my personal favourite stories, and they'll show up on the screen now. I think it is. It's a thoroughly enjoyable game. We like to, so at Cthulhumus that we run, we get everybody sat around the table, dressed up as their character, and there's an element of role-playing comes into the game, and it's a really good laugh with your friends. It's also a game that can be good fun played solo. I've certainly seen a number of people playing it on their own, or just two players. It works just as well. So I think replayability, I'm giving it a 10.
Yeah. There's so many different variants that come into this. Yeah. I mean,
and that's unusual for a cooperative game.
Yeah.
Fun factor. I think you've already given away your...
I have. I'm sorry. It has to be actually a 10 for me, because this is one of my apps. I mean, we've talked about which are your top 5, which are your top 10. This is solidly, even in my top 3, I absolutely adore this game.
Yeah, I give it a 10. Sat around the table with friends. To me, board gaming is a social activity. Sat around with your friends trying to overcome the AI. The application is fantastic fun. It's what differences, what's the challenge, what are the puzzles. You've got people that really enjoy the puzzle element of the game. The characters themselves are different. They give you an idea of how they're going to play. So the doctor helps on the healing side. The psychologist helps dealing with any of the mental trauma that the characters go through. It would have been nice, and I think Arkham Horror the 3rd edition of Arkham Horror's got it right, in which it tells you what your characters specialise in and how they play out. I like that element, and actually for new players that would have been a good thing to put in this. It doesn't detract from the game in any way that it's not there. It's just something that they added to the next iteration of Arkham Horror.
I also enjoy, because you get, at the end of the investigators phase, you get the mythos phase, where sort of wherever the location that you're at gets its turn, and that's where you can start going insane or get afflicted with things. What I love is, because of the app, you get named. It's not always the player with the lowest health or the most sanity. It actually comes up with your character's name, and just having that connection to this event is affecting you, and it describes it so beautifully that your flesh suddenly feels like it's crawling, and it's bits like that I absolutely love. It does get you on edge. You start becoming paranoid. There's just little bits of music in the background that a piano starts playing, and you suddenly tense up because of it, and it's just done so well that I absolutely love this.
The voice acting,
great fun.
is superb. Fantasy Flight really did a fantastic job at getting the gravitas and the strength of acting behind it. It is phenomenal. Really, really impressed. Yes, I think overall for me, this is a 9. Unfortunately, some of the aspects have brought it down. It's this, so Mansions of Madness along with Folklore are the 2 games that for me are teetering on that 10, that level of perfection. And I've always argued that there is no such thing as a perfect board game. There's always going to be elements that you think could be better, that you think could be different. And as I said, I've always called out Greenbrier Games. I think what they do is fantastic. I really respect them. And Folklore is my go-to game, but this is also one of the games that I will always go to. It's a good game to get other people into. We talk about gateway games. It's a good gateway game to get others into board games. That's not always true of this game particularly, though, because so not to go go back on what I've just said, but there are some people who see board games as you have a board out on the table.
Yes.
And I know that because you don't do that in Mansions of Madness, it slowly builds. That can be a problem for some people. Not many, which is why I'd still say it's a good gateway game. It's just some people that it's not a board game, and they find a little while trying to get their head around that fact.
But yeah, no, it's an absolute solid 9 from me. That's it. I'm exactly the same. I would like to say a 10, but the figures, it's no. Overall, it is an absolute solid 9.
So, all that remains is to say thank you for watching.
Yep.
If you have enjoyed it, please like, and if you're not already, please think of subscribing to us. We really do appreciate the people who do subscribe and interact with us both on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook, and here on YouTube. We are a small channel. We're trying to bring out content every week. We're going to be doing a new review as well, where we're going to look at old games from our childhood or sort of 20 years ago. We're going to start out looking at Acquire, which is a game very close to my heart. It's what my parents brought me up on, really. We played it very regularly in my family. We're also looking at doing, and that'll be once a month, we're also going to look to do a wargaming segment once a month as well, which we're going to be asking Chris to manage and get something out once a month. The next review from us on next week, I believe, is going to be Machikuru Legacy and Machikuru. We've been playing it through quite a bit, and we want to give our review, but we're going to put them both together. I think that one deserves both to be at the same time. So, thank you very much.
And have a spooky Halloween.
Have a fantastic, hopefully not Cthulhu-inspired Halloween, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.